welcome to the journey through the business wilderness. Today I have a very special guest with me, Mr. Brian Goldberg. Brian, how are you?
Very good. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm well. How's things?
Good in the startup world in Melbourne. It's good.
Things are moving well. So, Brian, tell us a bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm a passionate startup advocate. My specialty is trademarks and intellectual property, because I found building a strong foundation was my interest, and then we can take on the world, and that's what the intellectual property side is.
Yeah, most definitely. So, many young entrepreneurs have different ambitions, aspirations, and so on, and they begin their business or their ventures or their journeys with some wonderful ideas. But many of them tend to forget that one step. Before they go on and they execute their game plan or execute their idea, they forget, or many don't even know that they need to check to see if their idea has been done before, if they can trademark their idea, if they can get the right patents for their idea. And that's a common problem across the board. Can you tell us how we can avoid these issues, how we know where to go, how to go, and who to see?
Sure. There's a lot of questions in that, but I'll start by saying, on the positive note, creating a brand name and creating something that might attract customers or people is a fun activity, and it's usually quite stimulating.
Yeah.
Once that's done, then capturing it, and often now it's a domain name, is probably too easy. You just type on the domain name and put an S on the end and potentially get it.
Correct.
And then you think you've got something. So I don't blame the people for stopping there and then moving on. But when you are experienced in this area, the downside is you've actually built up a good business that people love. They love your brand name, and then you receive a letter saying you've got to change your brand name in 7 days, or else we're taking all the money you've ever made in your life. So you have to completely rebrand. And I know there are expenses in branding and protecting yourself, but once you've created a connection with customers, to have to rebrand is very expensive and perhaps has wasted the whole project. So yes, you're correct in, first thing is, great, create the new brand, and then do some due diligence on, does someone else own it? Is it potentially protectable? And to do that is free. IP Australia, so it's ipaustralia.gov.au.
Yeah, we'll put the website up.
Has a search engine, and it's called Atmos, and you can type in your word or your brand and see what comes up. And that's a good first initial search. And the second one is a Google search to look at the general market as well, to make sure that the general market doesn't have the exact same word for the same goods and services.
So pretty basic steps and resources that are basically available to everyone. Now, let's go back a step. When thinking of a business name or an idea, can you tell the wider audience some of the things they should take into account, or some of the things they should be wary of?
That's also a good question, because the definition of a trademark is the brand needs to be distinctive and not descriptive of the goods and services. So the first thing you need to know is, okay, I'm doing human resources. I can't call my company Human Resources or HR. You're not going to get it. You're going to be blocked. But you want a name that's reflective on it, People Power, or something that reflects human resources, but not the name, Human Resources. So, and the second part of the definition of a trademark is that no one else has used it or registered the right. So sometimes it's a bit of luck, because you never know, other people might have had that idea, but that's where a search can knock that one out. So in creating a name, a good name, from my experience, connotates the benefits of your services, but doesn't describe it exactly.
Yeah, definitely. So that's the trademark side of things. Now we constantly hear the word patents.
Yes.
What's the difference? People want. What's the difference between a trademark and a patent?
That's right.
Yeah.
Good question. So, intellectual property is a big word that covers a lot of things, but it doesn't actually mean anything.
Yeah.
Under intellectual property, there are 4 categories to protect your idea or concept or business. 1 is trademark, 2 is patent, 3 is design registration, and 4 is copyright. Now going back to patent is an inventive product or service. So it has to be inventive to what exists before. So it's got to have a function and it's got to be more inventive than what existed before and new. So a patent needs to have considerable merit in being inventive and progressive from what existed before, functional, whereas a trademark's just the name. The design is for the shape of a product, and the copyright is a literary or artistic work related to how you describe or market your product. And they're the different categories of intellectual property. So yes, a good question is, I have a new idea, what type of intellectual property could I potentially seek? And 1 is a brand name, 2 is it a shape, that's design, or is it functional?
Yeah.
That's potentially a patent. And design and patent, when you are listening to this, the most important aspect of a design and patent is that it has to be new. You can't have shown the marketplace or put it on your website. It has to be new for you to obtain those rights. So looking into it before you've shown the world is the only way to potentially get protection.
Okay, so you mentioned also the copyright.
Yes.
So how does somebody obtain that, and when and why?
Sure, good question.
Yeah.
So the good news is copyright is free.
Yeah.
So there's no cost there. The definition is that whoever creates the artwork or writes the literature owns the copyright.
Okay.
So on one hand, if you're the creative and you come up with a blurb on the product or service, or you're the photographer and you take the image, the person clicking the button or writing it owns it.
Okay.
However, if you're a business and you contract a third party to take the photos, do the website, come up with the marketing material, the default position is they own it.
Okay.
Unless in the services contract, upon payment, all copyright is transferred to the company or the individual. So you have to be diligent that you want to own the copyright, even if you didn't create it directly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Awesome. Now let's give you a bit of a scenario. I have an idea. It needs to be built. I don't have a development background, right?
Correct.
I need to bring in a third party to build this product for me.
Yes.
If this party signs a non-disclosure agreement, and moving forward, let's say this product grows, becomes popular, it's generating revenue, things are moving well, this party then turns around and says, oh, we created this product, we want a share of it. How do you go about that?
Sure. So, to clarify that and keep it simple, the non-disclosure agreement informs the third party that unless they do a business interaction with you, they're not allowed to tell any other party without your permission.
Yeah.
If they then progress and develop the product for you, whether it's write code or produce it, you need a services agreement with them. And within the services agreement, you need that all intellectual property will be assigned to you, the owner and concept idea, upon payment. And that needs to be agreed before they start working on it. And that clarifies that once you pay, they have nothing to do with it.
Awesome. There you go. Because I'm sure that's now, because, now the common thing is amongst young people and businesses in general is everybody's trying to build that next Facebook, the next Instagram, the next LinkedIn. So anybody who's got a bit of an idea, they're reaching out, if they don't have any coding background or development background, they're instantly reaching out to others, trying to implement things, trying to build things from raw, and a lot of the times they're falling short because they're not thinking of this idea as a business. It's more as, let's build this app and then hopefully we'll get a seller or a buyer. They come in hoping that the buyer will come in and buy it off them and they make millions of dollars. That's sort of the dream that's out there at the moment. But and on the other hand, a few people have gone out there, spent a whole heap of money, and they've had, after it's gone out, they've had people come back and claim and ask for funds because they were involved in the whole process. Hence why I asked the questions, so we can clarify it to those of you out there who are in the process of doing so. So we're nice and safe there. For those of you with any ideas, we've basically covered a few hurdles that you can avoid. Any other ideas, or let's say, as they say, prevention is better than cure, things that they can prevent from happening?
Yes, going public is detrimental to the pattern and design aspect. So if you have a website, or if you want to ask people, what do you think, that there's a dangerous phase unless they're a professional service provider that's within the confidential zone. So going public has certainly stopped many projects from potentially capturing intellectual property. I completely, and I work with all startups every day, so I understand the budget restrictions that some may have. But I don't recommend shortcuts are taken and outsourcing everything and losing control of what you said. Is you've got the idea, but everyone's doing different parts because that's how you just get it live. Ultimately, you ask, why are you doing it? You don't own any of it.
Yeah, exactly.
And if someone did buy, they wouldn't buy you, they'd buy your advertising company or your the marketing company you're using. They wouldn't acquire you. So step by step, considering what you can achieve within your budget and why you would go another way is important to speak to someone like yourself at each step. That's the advantage of speaking or listening to this, is others have gone through it and worked through the hard ways, and there are usually solutions whereby if we try to hold as much as we can of the intellectual property as far as we can go down the path, you're in a better position if you can get there. So definitely each phase needs to be considered carefully before disclosing it and just outsourcing everything.
Awesome. Any other pieces of advice you'd like to share?
Ideas are great. We love them. That's my work's great. I get to hear all different ideas. The challenge is I feel in Australia or international, such as US straight away, where do you start your idea? That's a challenge. Is Australia a good test market, or should we go straight to the US? It's case by case, but you need to consider that because time gets away and trends move on. So if your concept is good for now, maybe you have to hit it hard and go straight to the US.
Speed is so crucial.
Speed has, yes, I've procrastinated as everyone does. I'll get to it, I'll do it. Yeah. And that leads to the next point of a big dilemma is, do you do it in the evenings and weekends, like a few of my projects, or do you say, no, I'm going full-time, or do you take a month off work and do it full-time? And really, whilst I'm conservative and everyone needs employment, if you're going to give something a go, it's got to be full-time. So then the business community, including investors and others, do take you more seriously. And the ones that do it full-time, even though it's a sacrifice in the short term, do progress a lot further. It's riskier, but that's what you've got to consider early on. Is this something? And no one can answer that. Not many get the opportunity where they've thrown money to say, I know.
You really got to make up your mind.
You've got to make up your mind.
You got to say, do I want to do this for the rest of my life? Do I really love doing this every day? Do I wake up every morning thinking about this? Or do I get up in the morning saying, iffy, 50-50? That's the real question. Because if you love something, you'll sit it out, endure the pain you need to, because there's many hurdles, many obstacles along the way, and you will eventually get there.
And it's not really even for the rest of your life. It's, I want to give this concept, idea a go.
Exactly.
And to give it a go, I'm going to do it properly. And being connected to the investor world, where I protect their investments in IP, they take you seriously once you've committed to it. They will see what is your commitment. And if you are pursuing funds, being half committed will not obtain any interest.
No, exactly. Awesome. So, just quickly, where can people find you, Brian? Ask you questions.
Thank you. Trademark.Ventures is my website.
Social media?
Social media, I'm on LinkedIn more heavily, a bit on Instagram, but under Trademark.Ventures or Brian Goldberg is always happy. I work with startups. The aim is let's work out what you've got and potentially got without the fees, and then if you need something done, happy to do it. But always happy to speak to any startup that's got a good idea and wanting to know where to protect it.
And where to get started.
Where to get started in your startup, how's that?
Awesome. All right, Brian, thank you very much. I appreciate it. We'll catch you all on the next show. Take care.